Well, welcome to part 2 of the backup project. I'll go into details later when I get to the point where I think you'll be too bored to watch it. But we've got the intro starting for the second one. We put together our external hard drive with these two components purchased off of Amazon, an enclosure from Arico, and a Western Digital Black 770, I think this is, yes, SN770. That's what we got going on right there. We built a drive, but we haven't initialized it. Let's get to that right after intro. Well, this is the part I have a little anxiety about, because if you initialize the wrong disk, you can wipe out your existing computer hard drives that are already in there. So my first suggestion is that you familiarize yourself with the drive letters of your computer that are installed as they sit before you add this new one. Because you know, if you have a C drive and a D drive and an F drive or Y drive or V drive or whatever, I use videos on V drive, and so I have C and D, and I use those for other things. So C is a system drive. That's pretty common for a Windows machine. So what are we going to do? We're going to educate ourselves before we do anything. So we're going to go down in this bottom corner. We've switched panels here. We're going to go down here. We're going to type in disk management. And it's going to give us a chance disk management system. We can type that up and pull this up. And it's going to talk about how do you want to do it. You want to initialize a new disk? Do you want to create and format a new partition or volume? You want to format an existing one? Shrink a base. It gives you some information. Educate yourself. Load your gun before you go hunting. That's what I'm saying. Now, it will point out here on this first one, use GPT if you have a modern computer that has the UEFI firmware. That's how your birthing person's board is set up. And a newer computer is probably going to be UEFI. You may not know that. If you're wanting to use your card, your little memory stick that's attached to this new little box we have that goes into your USB-C on older computers, because you can switch it and put the USB-A to USB-C to A, use that other cable, and do it that way. If you want to use an older computer, you may go to MBR master boot record, maybe on the safe side, if your old computer can not see the UEFI or the GPT that we have right here. So anyway, what I'm going to do is, I'm old and I'm lazy. I'm just go down here and I'm going to type in the word partition. All right, and it's going to say create and format a hard disk partition. I'm going to click that. I'm going to go ahead and kill off that window, and it's going to reset to my center screen and default to a particular question, because this is a new drive and I'm working on this. Before I do anything else, I'm only going to want to stretch this out a little bit, all right, so I can see it, so that I don't mess anything up, because we didn't see when it first opened up this black line right here. This is the new drive. How do I know it's a new drive? Well, I have familiarity with my own system, and I can look up here and I can see this one. See, if I go from these different partitions, whichever one is selected gets this hash mark to it. But the one I got hash marked right here, it has the drive letter C on it. It's the Windows drive. It's the system drive. This little one over here, this 260 gigabyte drive, is your bootloader. You do not want to kill that off, and you don't want to kill off your system drive, your C drive, and you certainly don't want to kill off one of your data drives, which would be my D drive. My video drive, which is a different NVMe, non-volatile memory express, my M.2 on the birthing person board, it is this one right here that I have currently selected. So now that I know and I've accounted for all of these drives, I'm going to get froggy carefully, but I'm going to get froggy and go down to this new one down here. It's the latest one, because we start with disk 0. This whole line up here is one physical stick, one physical M.2. This is a second M.2. This third one is a third M.2. That's the one we put in our little box right here, or little 770 that we put in our little case right here. We've got it connected. So if you'll notice what it says up here, we've got no red dot by these that are active that have the blue line. So this is 3 partitions. This is 1 partition. Both of these are active. So I'm on disk 3. It's got the little red dot, and I'm going to check. Okay, now I happen to know my computer is GPT, and that's what I'm going to use. Okay. So, but what if I didn't know? All right, well, we're going to go ahead and step on one of them. That's not your system drive or the boot loader drive right here. I'm just going to click here, right click, see my little mouse, right click, and I'm going to go ahead, and I got to look with my glasses so I see, and hit properties, and it's going to pull up a window, and I got to slide it over where you can see it on screen. And what I'm going to look for is this thing right here where it says details. I believe that's it. Nope. Volumes, that's what I'm looking for, volumes. All right, and if you'll notice, it says partition style GUID partition table GPT. So that tells me I have a new modern computer if I didn't know before. So that means I can use either one. I can either use a GPT or the MBR. MBR if I want to be backwards compatible with an old computer. Maybe I want to take this same little guy here and take him to my laptop. Maybe I got an old laptop or an old gaming, whatever. Anyway, you may want to use MBR. I don't want to use MBR, but you might want to. So I'm going to go to this right here on that same side, on where the little red dot is, because it's got an error. It's telling me, and I'm going to say right there, it says initialize disk. And it should come up and say, how do I want to do it? I'm going to call it disk 3, MBR or GPT. It's going to stop at GPT by default. I'm going to go ahead and tell it to do it. It now has it as unallocated, right? And I think I can come up here and do this bit right here where I have to format this drive. Now the way I do that is I go over to this side, and now that I have it allocated, I have to make it into a simple volume. I could have split it in half, or I could have made this different partitions, but I'm just using it for one backup, so I use single partition. Now I'm going to hit simple volume. It's going to say this is going to create a simple volume on the disk. Notice that it is highlighted. I'm going to say next. It's going to say, do I want to use the whole thing? Of course I want to, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. It's going to say assign the drive letter. It's going to call it F, and I'm going to change. I think I'm going to change that in a little bit because I already have another F drive on here because 2 terabytes was not big enough to do it. I'm going to let it be G on this case because I have an existing F that I'm going to plug back in here in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next, and it's going to say, how do you want to format it? I want to do NTFS, and I want to give a new volume name. I want to say it's external disk 2. See what I did there? Because the F drive, the other one of these, the first 2 terabytes is actually going to be disk 1. Although I'll probably rename them and take the oldest stuff and put on this drive here and save space on the F drive. All right, but anyway, that's just my logic. I'm going to hit next and hit finish, and it says formatting. And now it says it's healthy, and if I slide this big screen over here, you can see that we have a C drive, we have a D drive, we have the G drive, and we have the V drive. And in just a second, I'm going to plug in the old one. I'm going to put this on pause, and we're going to look at it. And lo and behold, just one video edit later, we do see that we have C, D, F, which is the first one of these that I've got full right now, and then G, which is the one we just now set up, so we can start moving stuff from our F drive. Let me hit a properties so you can see I ran out of space on that drive. Do you see that? What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my oldest stuff off of F, and I have some parked over here on the V drive, the video drive. I'm going to stuff those down on this second one, fill it up, leave a little bit of room just for convenience, and then I will put that over in the fire safe and we'll be done. How about that? Hey, appreciate you watching. Do me a favor if you will, subscribe to the channel, either the YouTube or the Rumble channel, which this appears in, and if you can, check the notification bell or settings to make sure that you get notified when new videos are posted. Appreciate it. Well, we do in fact have a light there. Now I couldn't see it, my old dying eyes, but after I got it put together, there was a tiny little hole there, and I couldn't tell if that was just an air hole, a little weep hole, or we had something. I don't remember seeing anything there on the board on that end, but lo and behold, we plug it in, we do get a little blue light right there. When I recorded to either the internal hard drive or the external hard drive, taking it off of the media, the physical media, the Blu-rays, I found that the multi-speed, I think it's a 10 speed maybe, is the maximum speed of the Blu-ray, and Blu-rays are faster than DVDs because they have a better data rate, but it's still going through a serial ATA connection inside the computer. So it's never going to be faster than that internal connection, which I think serial ATA is maxed out at like 600 megabytes per second maximum data rate. So we're going to look at this, and I'll show you a couple of different videos. They're shorter than my talkie ones, but we're going to look at those and see how the data rate is affected. It was taking me, on average, going through these mini stacks, about 13 minutes to do 21, 22 gigabytes worth of data off of the spinning optical disc onto the internal hard drive. It was taking right about that. That was running, it would start about 20, and by the time it got going, it would ramp up to about 41, 42, 43, something like that. We're going to compare that limitation, and I mention that to you because I want you to understand each of these technologies, how we interface, is going to have an effect on the speed. Well, let's do a typical startup on this. Now that we have it configured, what we're going to do is I have some things on the birthing person board where this video stick is, where this NVMe is. I already have it pulled up to my stuff that I'm going to back up. Let's get an idea how much this is going to be. And it says that it is 363 gigabytes. That's the small portion. I'm going to pull it over to the new drive, the G drive, the one we just initialized, and we see that it is, if we do our properties, 0% used, so we're in good shape. Let's just see how well this actually runs, and we may do some pausing on this to get to some bigger files. On the smaller files, it's going to take a little bit longer. It's going to have a little lower bit rate than we will have if we pull it over, you know, large files like the big video files. Running 720, 725, something like that. We'll see how long it takes to complete. Now, it says it's about 60 seconds left, and I'm going to talk a little bit as it goes. It does tend to speed up as it gets cranking, and it's been my experience, having spent 2 days loading from DVD and Blu-rays onto the first drive, and then the second one as we filled up because we ran out of 2 terabytes. I'll tell you, it does seem to speed up toward the tail end. Now, this is very flat at 730 or so the whole time, but when I was pulling off of the Blu-ray, either DVDs or Blu-rays, they would speed up as it got going, as it goes. So I guess it's doing some sort of an average. Windows, it might be doing some sort of average there. I don't really know. But we know that we're cooking with gas compared to where we were before. It's just about done. I can probably go back if I manage this last little bit. It's most accurate on the final part than it is when it's on the first part. And we are just done with it. We're going from USB-C port to another USB-C port. If we look where we're coming from over here, this is the one external backup drive that we had, and we're moving it to the G, which is the other external. So we're doubling up. We're going through 2 USB-C ports that are limited to, I think, 10 gigabits per second. And of course, the machine is having to negotiate between the 2 of those, and that's what we got going on. We'll see how long it takes. We're just crossing that 13 minutes, and you see we're tailing down on some small files. We may actually hit 14 minutes by the time it hits those smaller files. It's been very accurate, much more accurate than when I was loading in from the Blu-ray. They were taking 12 to 13 or so, 13 and a half minutes per 25 gigabyte disk. Now, they are actually not loaded quite that far. They were about 20, 21, 22 most of the time, so it was running that. But it's also have to run through the interface there in the serial ATA, which slows it down quite a bit. So very pleased with the practicality of running USB to USB from 2 different drives. It's doing quite well, and I'm coming up to 1357. Well, we've been running this for a while. Let's see if I can get my thermometer here to work. And you see we're running 102 without the I'll go there it is, running 103 degrees after a while. It's always hotter on that end than right here on the front end. That's 88. Well, wrapping it up, I hope I didn't go too long. I always run longer than I intend to. I apologize for that to my loyal viewers, the ones that we do have, and I welcome the newbies that would come by, and hopefully you will subscribe to it. Now, where are we today? We are now have 2 separate 2 terabyte drives, $150, basically 157 for each one of them. We put them together. We've done all the work ourselves. We have done the painful multi-day transfer from the spinning disk, because those are going away. They're hard to find. So I'm stuck in the past project with this case, this Corsair case, which I despise because I had to have a hard drive bay. Moving into the future is good, but sometimes it just takes a while to get up to speed from taking, like I say, decades worth of old files and organizing them and put them on there. That's what we did. So we're in good shape with that. A little bit depressing during this process because I looked at a lot of old files and brought back memories, brought back pictures of Dad before he passed away, before the Alzheimer's took him, before the tragedies and that kind of stuff. That was just life as we age, seeing my children when they're little. It's just kind of emotional. So it wasn't a fun project to do, but it needed to be done. In our closed group, what brought this on to get Froggy to do this backup project to get rid of that was the government shut down ByteDance, their program. They told them we were going to do it. People in our group were just like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize CapCut was there. I can't do my videos on my phone. And my advice was, get off the stupid phone. Get your life where you're not living on this little computer that tracks everything you do. Do it on a computer, do it in the comfort of your home. You can get a much better effect out of it. It's easier to work with, and you're not getting so much information to everyone that way. Not that Microsoft's not farming it back out from you, I'm sure. But I did notice on Android 14, they're forcing, Gemini on me, and it's geotagging every video and still picture that I take. Now I can turn that off, but it doesn't say it disables it. It says it just turns it off where it's being reported. I'm sure it's still in the metadata that we have. Anyway, I hope the video was helpful to you. But when people say, oh my gosh, my phone stuff doesn't work, and I think, well, imagine it's such a small computer. What if you drop it in the toilet or in the rain, or it's thunderstorming, or you step on it, or it falls out and your car breaks, whatever? It's just a very dangerous place to do a lot of work with. It needs to be portable. It doesn't need to be, in my opinion, doesn't need to be a replacement for a computer, a home computer. Appreciate you watching. See you next time.